As everyone should know, after the last 2 years, Western governments are happy to lie to their citizens in the interests of the so-called greater good. The Daily Telegraph, for example, tells us that inside Downing Street it is widely accepted that the COVID originated in a laboratory in Wuhan, not in an errant bat or pangolin, but they haven't figured out a way to tell us yet, because we're simple-minded peasants who might storm number 10 and demand that we get as tough on the Chi-Coms as we're getting on Putin and boot Chairman Xi out of the Eurovision Song Contest and impose trade sanctions so that he can no longer sell us his cheap slave labour-produced T-shirts and socks and underwear and aspirins and COVID masks and computer chips and batteries and laptops and smartphones and basically everything we need in an advanced society. It's important to remember those COVID lies now that we have a new crisis, war in Europe, a big war that could spread. The retired generals on American telly assure us the war is not going well for the Ruskies. That could be true. There has been no Pentagon-style shock and awe for 72 hours, followed by the long, slow bleed to defeat over the ensuing 2 decades. So it might just be that Putin is not going to war with the Pentagon's useless playbook and is trying something different that doesn't lead to a humiliating Kabul-style rout. Who knows? The violence was significantly cranked up today, including the reported use of cluster bombs in Ukraine's second city, Kharkiv, which, if true, is a war crime. But in whatever numbers, real people are dying in Ukraine, and it looks as if America's post-Cold War moment could be dying with them. The continent's great liberations of three decades ago restored the ancient capitals east of Berlin to the common European home. Putin would like to roll that back, starting with Ukraine. And we're responding with hashtags and Eurovision expulsions and the projection of the Ukrainian flag on Nelson's column. We could use Lord Nelson right now, but we have to make do with a light show on his memorial. And the head of MI6, that's C in real life, M if you're a 007 fan, and actually Y would seem the more obvious choice these days. The head of MI6 says it's more important to show Putin how serious we are by going back to celebrating LGBTQ month as if nothing were happening. It's like the dinner party scene in Carry On Up the Khyber. Yes, indeed, only with more non-binary Khybers. On the other hand, the Ukrainians themselves aren't necessarily waiting for NATO or for the Americans. They're doing a splendid job resisting what is happening in their country. You've seen some of the more amusing aspects of that, including a Ukrainian farmer dragging a rather elderly-looking Russian tank that managed to run out of gas.